NYGATS Training Subaccount Overview. In this training video, we will cover an overview of all subaccounts. The subaccounts include active subaccounts, banked subaccounts, retirement subaccounts, the bulletin board, the EDP subaccount, creating new subaccounts, and editing subaccounts. Each NYGATS account holder will be able to organize its certificates into different types of subaccounts to allow the users to perform a number of specific functions. Each of these subaccounts will be automatically set up for each NYGATS user depending on the account type. NYGATS will assign 4 default subaccount types for all accounts: the active subaccount, the banked subaccount, the retirement subaccount, and the bulletin board subaccount. LSE account types with load will be assigned an EDP subaccount for each year. The LSE can transfer bundled certificates from their active subaccount to their EDP subaccount for purposes of the environmental disclosure label at any time during the trading period. Active subaccount. The active subaccount is the holding place for all active certificates that originate from generation delivered into and consumed in New York. Certificates in an active subaccount can be transferred at the discretion of the account holder. The active subaccount is the first point of deposit for any certificates resulting from generation reported by NYSO, data from qualified independent parties, and certificates resulting from generation reported through the self-reporting interface. The active subaccount may be associated with one or more generating units. There are 4 ways to withdraw or remove certificates from an active subaccount. Certificates transferred to another account holder's active subaccount subject to both account holders agreeing to the transfer. Certificates transferred to the account holder's own banked subaccount. Certificates transferred to the account holder's own retirement subaccount, and certificates remaining in an active subaccount at settlement, which will automatically be removed and included in the residual mix and used for environmental disclosure labels. Banked subaccount. The banked subaccount is the holding place for certificates the account holder plans to use toward a future voluntary retirement and does not wish to be included in the annual settlement and residual mix. Only certificates that qualify as renewable may be banked. Banked certificates may be banked indefinitely. Tier 1 RECs can be banked by LSE account holders and NYSERDA for 2 years from the vintage year. For example, 2017 Tier 1 RECs can be banked for 2017 and 2018, but not 2019. Banked Tier 1 RECs from prior vintage years can be transferred into the current year's EDP subaccount for use in demonstrating compliance. To transfer a banked Tier 1 eligible REC into an EDP subaccount, it must first be moved to an active subaccount before being transferred to an EDP subaccount. Tier 1 RECs cannot be applied to past year's EDP subaccounts. For example, you cannot transfer a 2018 Tier 1 REC into a 2017 EDP subaccount. There are 2 ways that certificates may be deposited into the banked subaccount. 1, an account holder may transfer certificates from its own active subaccount to its own bank subaccount. Or 2, the account holder can transfer certificates from their banked subaccount to another account holder's banked subaccount. There are 3 ways to withdraw or remove bank certificates from a banked certificate subaccount. 1, bank certificates may be returned to the account holder's active subaccount. 2, bank certificates may be retired after the settlement date for the corresponding vintage. Tier 1 RECs held by load-serving entity accounts can be retired for RES compliance for 2 years after the certificate vintage. Non-Tier 1 certificates can be retired for voluntary purposes. 3, bank certificates may be transferred to another account holder's bank subaccount. Voluntary certificates in a bank certificate subaccount as of the annual settlement will thereafter only be eligible for future voluntary retirement and will not be included on the environmental disclosure label. Non-Tier 1 certificates that have been banked have no expiration and will remain active until retired or exported to the compatible tracking system. Retirement subaccount. The retirement subaccount is used for voluntary retirement activity not associated with environmental disclosure labels. Certificates in the retirement subaccount are excluded from the residual mix during NYGATS settlement and will not appear on the environmental disclosure label. When a certificate is transferred to a retirement subaccount, the account holder must specify the purpose for the certificate retirement. Additional information on the retirement subaccount can be found in the Certificate Retirements training video located on the website. The Bulletin Board Subaccount. The Bulletin Board Subaccount is where account holders may post certificates available for purchase. The Bulletin Board can be viewed by all account holders from the list of public reports. Interested account holders can contact the seller directly using the contact information supplied with each post. Certificates can be posted to the Bulletin Board by transferring the certificates from the active subaccount into the account holder's Bulletin Board subaccount. Certificates can be removed from the Bulletin Board subaccount by transferring certificates back to the active subaccount. Certificates remaining in the Bulletin Board subaccount at the settlement date will be automatically removed and included in the residual mix and used for environmental disclosure labels. EDP subaccounts. The load-serving entity can transfer bundled certificates from their active subaccount to their EDP subaccount for purposes of the environmental disclosure label at any time during the trading period. Prior years, non-Tier 1 bank certificates and unbundled imports cannot be deposited into the EDP subaccount at any time. Tier 1 certificates can be banked by an LSE for 2 years after the certificate vintage and deposited for RES compliance in the retirement screen. The LSE can optionally assign certificates to retail products in the EDP subaccount for the purposes of additional reporting. Retail products, like retirement reasons, may be selected from the certificate transfer screen at the time of the deposit into the EDP subaccount. The transfer screen has a retail product detail field where the account holder can enter their retail product details, for example, utility green pricing program. Creating new subaccounts. An account holder can create an additional active and retirement subaccount by selecting the Create New Subaccount link located in the Account Status module from the NYGATS dashboard. Select the subaccount type, active for additional active subaccounts, or retirement for additional retirement subaccounts. Designate a name alias. The name can be for the purpose for the retirements or other identifying label. Designate open, yes for subaccounts that are active, or open no for subaccounts that are inactive. Additional details is an optional administrative field to note metadata about the current status of the subaccount. The status effective date is a read-only administrative field to capture the date of the current status. Press Create to create the new subaccount. Editing subaccount. An account holder can edit an active subaccount by selecting the hyperlink name of the subaccount from the Account Status module. The subaccount registration fields can be updated and saved. The subaccount can be deactivated by selecting the Open No radio button. The subaccount registration screen will display all projects that currently deposit certificates into this subaccount. Additional information about the NYGATS account structure can be found in Section 6 of the NYGATS Operating Rules. The NYGATS Operating Rules are available on the NYGATS informational website. Additional information on the topics covered in this training or any other questions you have about how to use your NYGATS account can be found in the NYGATS operating procedure. Additional questions can be submitted to the NYGATS administrator at nygats@apx.com or by phone at 408-643-0167.